experience a happy locker room. What have the last couple of days been like for you and the team?
Well, Saturday after the win, the locker room was great. Exactly what it should be, exactly what it needs to be. You know, we talked a ton all fall camp, all summer about August 30th and being 1-0 when we were able to come back home for this stretch. And able to get that done, but the locker room after the game was exactly how it should be. A ton of fun, and now we've been able to put the game to bed and ready to move on with a great opponent coming in Saturday night.
Robbie?
Coach, when you look back at the offensive line, you mentioned after the game you didn't like the penalties. Second half looked a lot better and seemed like they were a lot more smooth in the second half. But what did you see from the offensive line in totality from the film for 4 quarters?
Yeah, inconsistent is what we saw. We saw some really good moments, some really, really good things, and then we had some things that we've got to completely take out of our game. But that's at every position. Like, the stress today that we've continued to talk about is our best players got to continue to play better. You know, it's not just those guys that are 9, 10, 11, and 12 on the unit. Our best players got to continue to play better. And our guys are taking to that. We need great growth from week 1 to week 2. We understand that and looking forward to the challenge.
In the second half, too, you had Albert at right, he stepped in for Blake, and Jimothy at left. Did you like that collection of 5 that you had?
Yeah, I felt good about the way we executed, especially there in the third quarter. We played cleaner. I thought the ball was distributed in a really good way from the QB position with Blake. And then we made some plays, and that was good. Complimentary football in the third quarter, I thought was huge for us to be able to get away from.
Paul?
Coach, obviously Arizona State's got a lot of returning starters back, but you know, they've got some of you guys in there too making plays. Have you see a lot of the same tendencies that you saw from them last year, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a ton of similarities from a schematic standpoint, without a doubt. You know, you look at them defensively, 10 back on defense, offensively, a ton of returners, the entire offensive line, obviously the quarterback and outside receiver and Jordan Tyson, and then they've got 2 backs that are playing really good and are really good that got great familiarity with. So they're a unit that's really dangerous on the offensive side of the ball and create a bunch of explosive plays. Again, a QB that I think people think is as good as there is in America. So they put those guys in positions of success. So got a great challenge.
Hey, Ed.
When you have a game like you had Saturday, where you get to play a lot of your younger guys later in the game, who stood out to you from your freshmen, from your second and third teamers that you think, hey, they can be a big contribution going forward?
Yeah, I think some guys that stood out that played a bunch for us that maybe hadn't been talked about a ton. A guy like DJ Reed did some really good things. Got a chance to continue to increase his role with how he plays and doing what he's doing. Duke Johnson's a guy that really flashed and got to play a lot of plays on the defensive side of the ball, which we're going to continue to need that. T. Wood made some really good plays, can continue to play cleaner, but a guy that's going to end up stepping in for Isaac when Isaac needs a blow. We need all those guys to create a ton of depth and to play really, really well when they're in there.
Sam?
With the success Arizona State had running the ball in this game last year, what's just kind of your expectations or message for the run defense and showing that up for this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all aware they're going to try to run the football. That's going to be a huge part of it. That's going to be a huge part of the game. We've got to do a great job of being incredibly sound and fitting tight and fitting fast, and then we got to get a bunch of guys to the ball carrier. Again, these backs have the ability to win in one-on-ones, and we've got to game tackle all of these guys.
James?
You've talked about how there's a lot to clean up, there's a lot to work on. What are some of those things, and what kind of work are you putting in to do that?
Yeah, I mean, on the offensive side of the ball, it was penalties. We had 1 in 9 plays had a penalty, and over 120 yards ate up from the penalty piece of it. So the non-playing penalties, they got to come out of our game completely. And then the playing penalties, we've got to play smarter and cleaner. And so constantly talking and teaching the fundamentals of how we do what we do will give us a chance to do that. The non-playing penalties is truly just a matter of, attention to detail pre-snap, and going to continue to stress that in a great way and make sure all of our guys know how important that is.
Colin?
Coach, you've got a lot of defensive starters who returned from last year and have been, very determined to put last year behind them. But with their knowledge from playing this team last year, how do you utilize, 1, that knowledge, and 2, that motivation going into this year's matchup?
Yeah, the motivation is the fact that we're walking into Davis Wade home opener my expectation is that we've got the greatest atmosphere in all of the country here at 6:30 Saturday night. Our fan base showing up, being loud, being early, and the expectation for our guys on defense is to go play at a level that gives us an opportunity to go win. And that's how we've got to prepare every single day. That's how we had to prepare today, this morning, as we cleaned the last game and moving on to Arizona State. But our guys understand the expectation. They understand the standard that we are creating on that side of the football, and man, ready for the challenge.
Danny?
Coach Brennan made some plays. Of course, he had the touchdown call back. Well, is that just scratching the surface of what we can get from him?
Yeah, I think he's got a chance to have a ton of production. You know, I think there's a few guys in that room that you saw show up and really have a chance. So, again, we've got to go do it. We've got a great opponent. Again, the secondary that we're going to face, guys have played a ton of football, and that will be a huge part of Saturday evening, is being able to win on the perimeter.
Colin?
Coach, we asked you plenty after the game about the difference between the first half and the second half. You guys played a much cleaner second half. Ideally, you'd like to play an entire clean game, but going into a game like Arizona State, how encouraging is it to be a coach and seeing you guys dominate the second half like you did and take that momentum into this week?
Yeah, I think one of the things that was probably the most encouraging was that things were far from perfect. Obviously, in the second quarter with our 2 3 and outs defensively, we were playing really well. We had a chance to get off the field on their long touchdown drive a couple of different times. It doesn't happen. We put that drive together at the end of the half, end up having to settle for a field goal, again, because of penalties that we should have cleaned up. But then you go in at halftime and there's real leadership in that locker room. Just everybody saying the exact same thing: get a stop, go score, and find a way to get away. And then we were able to do that 3 straight drives defensively, the third one with the pick, and then obviously offensively being able to go score 3 straight touchdowns. So I love the answer, I love the response, and the maturity in the locker room as we were in there adjusting.
Joel?
You touched on it a little bit a minute ago, but given the opportunity that's in front of us on Saturday, what would it mean to you, these guys, this program, to walk out of that tunnel on Saturday and see that place just packed out?
Yeah, I don't need the world. I think our people are incredibly excited about it. But again, my hope, my expectation is we walk into a stadium, man, that is as special as there is in all of college football, because we have that here. And we need to have that on Saturday night at 6:30. We need it in a big way. And so, again, for us, incredibly excited to have this as our home opener in front of our fan base. And again, my hope is that, man, we show up, we show out, and we have just an electric atmosphere as we go to kick this thing off.
Steve?
It's incredible how similar the Arizona State game and your game went in week 1. A lot of penalties, a lot of things you can kind of clean up. But is there any carryover with the running quarterback, and with Braxton and Sam? Obviously, Levitt probably can beat almost anybody in a foot race, but defensively, you know, what are you seeing from them offensively that may be some carryover from week 1 to 2?
Just the awareness of all the QB run game, and obviously the awareness of our rush lanes and the integrity we have to make sure that we keep him modeled up. If I'm a contained rusher, I've got to contain. You know, there was a couple of times on Saturday where if we just do that, the pocket's actually getting pushed, and we're going to end up making a sack on the perimeter. We lose contain, and they go ahead and go get a first down, and we find ways to get off the field later in that drive. But those are the things we've got to make sure that we're cleaning up, learning those lessons right now. To, man, you're off the field. You've got them in a really bad situation. We got to continue to stress that and get where we want to get.
David?
Will Whitson was named SEC Co-Defensive Player of the Week coming off the bench late. And have you named your own team's situational MVPs for this week?
We have not talked to them a little bit about it this morning. We're not going to go do the players of the game every single week and do that thing. We've got to play better. We've got to coach better. And, you know, I think our guys actually, they like that. And they like the fact that it's about everybody inside the walls. We've all got to find ways to play better because, again, my stress to our football team is our best players got to play better. And that's something we're going to continue to trend towards.
Robbie?
Coach, we didn't see Jamil Burrows on Saturday.
Yeah.
Do you have an update on him?
Yeah, I think we'll really know on Jamil tomorrow when we get off the field. Hope that he's back. I really don't know until we go through this tough practice tomorrow to see if he's really ready.
When he is back on the field, what's your expectations for him based on what you've seen?
Being really involved.
He asked about
Being really involved.
Burrows.
Paul?
Coach, when you look back on the Southern Miss game, as far as the execution in the third quarter, was it just a matter of, I mean, even a couple of scoring drives you had to overcome penalties? Was it just a matter of getting out of your own way, or was it more what your team was doing?
I feel like it was getting out of our own way. Like, you look at some of the things that happened in the second quarter, and you look at some of the things that happened in the first quarter for us not to be able to go finish drives. And again, I mentioned it, but the 2 3 and outs and inside the second quarter is like we had lost our minds a couple of times doing some of the things that we put on tape. But again, those moments are incredible, teachable moments for us, and learning the lesson when you can go on the road and go win. Again, that to me is what we got to have to show the maturity, to show the development, and the buy-in of getting better.
Colin?
Have you had a chance to evaluate Luke, Jet? and
He
Blake
asked
Hayden?
about Jet.
Yeah, Luke, I
Steve.
feel good about Luke, not great. Again, to me, it's all about tomorrow's practice. Like, how are these guys functioning as we go into a really physical, long, hard practice on Tuesday morning? That's when we can really create some understanding. Are these guys going to be ready? Same with Blake. Jet, I'm not ready to say Jet's going to even be able to go tomorrow morning for us to really evaluate him. His evaluation will happen a little later in the week.
James?
You talked about how this cornerback room is going to be a really valuable group for you guys. How does the challenge of Arizona State's wide receiver room, Jordan Tyson and more, how does that give them an opportunity to grow?
Yeah, I mean, we've got one of the best receivers in all of college football that's going to be in Starkville on Saturday night. Guy that had a ton of production last year. He's made an unbelievable amount of plays. A guy that got targeted, I think, 15 or 16 times the other day, had 12 catches, and are incredibly productive players. So, again, for us, we're going to see those guys Saturday night. We're going to see them throughout our schedule, and it is. It's going to be a great opportunity, for our guys on the perimeter.
Landon?
You mentioned that the Arizona State's going to try to run the ball, but also having Tyson as an option kind of over the top. How do you game plan for both? When you know they're going to lean heavily on the run, but they can also really burn you down the field.
Yeah, and they're a chunk play football team. They're an explosive team. They do want to run the football. Their backs are explosive players, but they're going to try to find ways to motion and shift and create some leverages and some opportunities in the shot game and throw it down the field to him. So we've got to do a great job of knowing where he's at. And that's the first piece of it, because he moves all over the field. And then the next piece is when the ball's in the air, we got to go attack it and go make plays.
Colin?
You saw the conference name Will Watson, the SEC Co-Defensive Player of the Week. You raved about the defensive line and how much it's improved all offseason. But to get that recognition following week 1, I mean, how does that feel, knowing that unit has improved so much and people are also taking notice of it?
Yeah, I think for Will, he puts the tape on. He's got a bunch that he wants back, and he did a lot of really good things. And it kind of goes back to what we started with. He's one of our best players on the defensive line, and he's got to continue to play better. He had some opportunities to have a couple more sacks, a couple other tackles for loss. He did a great job pushing the pocket. So continuing to just develop him in a way to where he can impact the game. But proud of how he played and looking forward to where he's going.
Got time for a couple more. We'll close it out with Sam, Paul, Robbie.
On the run defense, again, it's easy for us to just see the stats from the Southern Miss game and see that the Southern Miss running backs had some troubles.
Yeah.
What did you just see from the film of your run defense and what was kind of working?
Yeah, I thought, again, at the point of attack, we did a pretty good job. And we did a good job of tackling him in the run game, both those backs. We've got to build on that. It's going to be critical for us moving forward. It's going to be critical in Saturday night's game. But again, fitting in a great way, fitting tight, playing fast, and then tackling will be something that's going to be critical.
Paul?
Back to the defensive line, Coach. We didn't hear DJ Reed's name much in spring or training camp, but obviously he got a pretty good push Saturday and disrupted their backfield a couple times. That's my first question. Was that a surprise to you? And do you expect Rashawn Thomas to get in the rotation this year?
Yeah, with DJ, for him, he had a great week of practice last week and really had put like those last 4 days as we got into the mock game. He had put 2 weeks together that were we're really, really good, and we need him to keep coming. That's a really talented guy. It's a young guy that's got a lot of ball left ahead, but man, we got to continue to speed up his process and his development because physically he can really help us. With Ray, man, we got a long season. We're going to need every single one of those guys in that room. That's the reality of where we live, and so that's what it looks like for Ray.
Coach, I had talked to Blake after the game about just his thoughts going into it with it being so long since he had played.
Yeah.
Kind of echoed a lot of what he had said preseason, how happy he was to be back. But how did you feel like he handled getting back in there and knocking the rust off, especially after that interception?
Yeah, I loved how he bounced back after the interception. He wanted that one back in a huge way. He obviously understood that immediately in the moment and then moving forward. But again, he did some really, really good things. Want him to continue to take advantage of a couple of things when we get some specific pictures that are presented to where he can really help us, be in good situations. First and foremost, but then create some explosives too, as we continue to build this plan for this weekend.